We have about 2 more months and we're changing the art style today. Yay! Aggressive bouncing.
Thinking outside the grid.
I think it's time to blow this scene.
It was all just a bit much.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's jam.
Welcome to Puzzle Dungeon Part 2, where still nothing works, we don't have game design, we don't have level design, and we're about to have a fucking identity crisis. If you haven't watched Part 1, let's get you up to speed. In July 2020, we got government funding from the German government to make our dark fantasy line puzzle adventure game Puzzle Dungeon. It is January 2021 where we pick up this story, and we have about 2 months to finish a vertical slice and show the potential of our idea that we got the funding for. We had wasted a lot of time figuring out our gameplay, but after a lot of trial and error and a lot of feedback, we finally had a breakthrough. Let's see what Simone from 2021 has to say about that. Today is not a good day. Well, shit! What is going on here? Apparently I haven't washed my hair, and to give this clip some context, Joseph and me had just gotten the news that we wouldn't get our dream apartment that we applied for. On top of all of that, we had showed Patrick, our marketing guy, a GIF from Puzzle Dungeon. Joseph showed him Puzzle Dungeon yesterday and he was like, yeah, we're already working on the next new thing, here, check this out. And he saw it and he went, oh no. He was like, the style that you have for Puzzle Dungeon just doesn't fit with Virtual Cottage or Cats Organized Neatly. And we were like, we know, we talked about this a month ago, but like we want to change and evolve and like be free and... But ultimately he's right. Patrick's feedback really didn't come out of nowhere.
Und deswegen würde ich halt auch da gucken, dass das halt auch dazu so einen Link hat. Also ich würde auch gucken, dass es so vom Style her halt wieder auch so ein bisschen vielleicht dann halt nicht so richtig Darkest Dungeon düster wird, sondern halt trotzdem so cute bleibt, aber unique.
When we came up with the idea, when we started the project, we hadn't released Cats Organized Neatly, we hadn't made Virtual Cottage, so suddenly we had this wholesome, cutesy games portfolio, so Puzzle Dungeon just wasn't gonna fit. So I hesitantly made a redesign which was closer in tone to our other games, but still kept the fantasy, classes, and the concept of fighting monsters in a dungeon. To start, I pulled up a lot of references that were closer in tone to Adventure Time than Darkest Dungeon. My plan was to keep this fantasy element and the combat, but just make it more colorful. The first step to that was redesigning the characters.
Wie will der Degel mit Schild und Schwert sein?
Das bist. Okay, so now I have some rough character designs over here, and I tried to keep the shapes super simple. From when I did the knight design for the old art style, I tried to do different proportions. Yeah, that's the right word. Fortunately, I kept those sketches, so now I'm gonna try like these 3 different proportions with the other designs. So after stylizing the character designs, I threw together some backgrounds and some monsters and ended up with this mock-up. Then we were in a pretty good spot. crisis averted, right? We also had built a simple level editor in the meantime. It lets you input the playing field in a TXT file and gives you this level, still with the old level art, of course. Patrick also didn't think the second look would work. Like, we were faced with the reality that we had this cool gameplay now, but it just wasn't working with the visuals. Why would you draw a line next to the monster if you're slaying the monster? Like, that makes no sense. We also realized at that point that we had 2 more months to finish this vertical slice in order to get the government funding. And we were doing all of that, doing all the development while we were still doing client work on the side to keep our company afloat. Enter Gamemaking Games, who kinda saved our asses. I know you know that this video is just a bunch of tangents, so here's another tangent. I promise this is all relevant. Gamemaking Games is a studio that Julian founded together with some friends. And during the month of January, they were working on a huge client project that they needed to finish in time. And then their artist got sick. Long story short, Joseph and me jumped in and did some background art so they could cover their January and February milestone. They offered to pay us for that time, but the deal that we ultimately struck with them was, we're gonna work however many hours you need to hold up your milestone, and then when we need game and level design, could you work those hours for us? We hopped on a call with them to brainstorm ideas for a setting change. The slaying monsters just wasn't working and we needed some fresh eyes and just other people that we could throw ideas at. So yeah, that's what we did. And one idea stuck out. And I need to set the scene for you. Right after we had the call, I was like super inspired and just started drawing this fantasy food bus and did some sketching for 3 brand new characters. And on that day, it was snowing like crazy. And Joseph and me decided to go on a 1.5 hour walk and discuss the potential setting change. This walk changed everything. Suddenly everything was making sense. If you don't kill, but feed the monsters. Design problems like, why would you not want to draw a line through the monsters? But next to them just took care of themselves. Slowly but surely, we worked through all of the design problems and just everything fell into place and made sense.
We just came back from a walk. We were outside for almost 1.5 hours and it was super nice. And we just talked about the new setting that we landed on.
Mocking up the feeding. Learning from the mistakes we did with the first iteration of Puzzle Dungeon. This time I started by solving the hardest task first. I took one character and made a side and back view, as well as making a simple grid and a monster. I also drew the character in a pose where it looks like they're throwing something. Put it all together in Photoshop and animated it. This animation gave us the confidence we needed to go in this new direction. And we had tried out so many things at this point, but this finally felt right. The days after the breakthrough felt amazing. We were getting game mechanic ideas from our friends at Gamemaking Games.
Gefällt mir sehr gut, vor allem Thinking outside the box. Basti, du thinking outside the grid. Sehr nice, gefällt mir gut.
Our programmer Yuzia was working on mechanics and implementing the slime enemies. Aggressive bouncing. And started working on an improved version of the level editor. And we slowly refined our 3 characters that we were gonna have. And now may be the best point in the video to talk about character design. Moreover, I just want to kind of explain how these characters came to be and like generalize a lot of things, because that might be helping you if you design characters for your game. For the old puzzle dungeon, my approach was to make the designs very high in contrast. So that basically translates to very dark lines and light shapes. This would stick out on a dark background, so I just used the 3 primary colors for the characters and like tweaked them a bit. However, this new look, I wanted it to be softer and have less contrast. And I also knew that I wanted green and blue and purple for the background, to have like grass and stone and water. So I wanted a warm color palette for the characters, so I chose yellow, orange and red, but red is such a strong color that it always kind of dominates the other 2, so I softened that red to get to a pink. So those were the 3 character colors, and the other colors were for the background. So once the main color was set, I knew the hair had to be dark or light to stick out from the background, again going back to contrast. And from that point I pretty much just added colors that would complement or contrast the main color and use that for like accents. A couple days later it was finally time to change the environment. So I started the day very early and worked on a mock-up. Our dungeon should become luscious and green. Our old prototype was built like this: a set of randomized tiles on top of a dungeon background. So my first instinct was to just replace those graphics and design a grass tile and a backdrop. Now, much later in the day, I just got us some breakfast. Joseph's awake, and I finished a lot of work on the tile sets. But I'm not that happy with how it's looking so far, so now that Joseph's awake, he can hopefully give me some feedback and we can look for some references together and I can do another pass. Joseph liked the mock-up that I had made, but it also didn't feel as decisive as the first and the second iteration of Puzzle Dungeon. But at that time we just couldn't come up with any good solutions. Anyway, here's a version with animated clouds. The past 2 weeks have probably been like the busiest we've been in the recent weeks, month. I would like to say it's the busiest we've been this year, but it's still January. So we're a bit behind schedule, especially now since we changed the art style. So what do I mean when I say schedule? So we have until the end of February to get a prototype done. That prototype has to have multiple levels. Not all the levels should be the same. Like, there should be some sort of progression, and the prototype should give us an indicator for the final scope of the project. So because we applied for the government funding and told them that we could get a playable prototype done in February, that was our deadline. Basically, we had 6 to 7 more weeks to complete this. Back to the video. I want to get a lot of things done today. Yeah, at the end of the day we'll hopefully have one example character with a couple animation frames and finally figured out the environments. Alright, quick update. We ditched the outlines. They really weren't adding a lot to the style. The outlines add a lot of time to every frame. And if it's just shapes, it's also way easier to animate. We're also scaling up the character faces, making them more chibi-ish. I also spent some time doing a tile set. The world that we wanted them to be in is kind of this like just floating islands. I had this one screen that I was very happy with. It was just this little island and then a lot of like clouds and very airy. And then just flipped over and he pointed out that it's very cyan. And he was totally right. I let the background rest for a while and spent the evening chibifying the other two characters. So the good news first. We finally have a level editor. Yay! Yuzia sent it over yesterday and it looks great and it works great. It is very intuitive, and we also at this point have a bunch of levels that are still made in Photoshop because not all the mechanics are implemented, but we've tested most of the mechanics and we like them, and yeah, we have that covered. So Joseph and me are very overworked at the moment. January has been insane, but we know that it's gonna be less around March. It's just the timing is super awful. Yeah, Joseph also got sick. So yeah, that is where we're at right now. So we were both overworked and sick, and Yuzia's laptop broke. The game still wasn't looking that great, and we had a deadline. And it was all just a bit much during that time. And I think the only thing I pretty much got done during like 2 or 3 weeks was sketching some monsters. My Photoshop drivers were also doing weird shit at that point, and I was afraid that my computer was broken. We clearly needed to take a break at that point. And we just took a few days of rest and not worked on client project, not worked on this project, and that helped a lot. So, regarding the game, we are close to wrapping up the whole concept, which is really great news. I think I talked about this in the last update. We finally have the game mechanics settled,
We have tested them. We have levels that are fun to play with, like for example teleporters or mud or items that you can use. So that has been really fucking great. Further good news, our original deadline was by the end of February. In theory we only have 3 more weeks, which no way we can finish what we wanted to do with the change in direction and change in art style especially. But the good news is we submitted a application for extending the deadline by 3 months. So now we have until the end of May to complete the prototype that we set out to do. Yeah, until the end of February my goal is really just to do a lot of concept work and get dummy art and dummy animation frames for everything that we need. Oh yeah, I also finished the characters. Plan for this month is to finish gameplay assets, monsters, characters, like to just have one image for each thing that we're gonna need. That shouldn't be too hard, right? With all the pressure finally gone, I did another attempt at the environment graphics. At the end of February, I sat down with a huge collection of references and started sketching. Also ich habe jetzt mal aufgeschrieben Grass, Rocky, Swamp, Autumn Forest.
Ja, das klingt gut.
Weil das wären 4 sehr unterschiedliche.
And I've already explained how our game is set up with the tiles and then the background art. Yep, that evening we decided to ditch that idea and just make a traditional tile set. One of my biggest inspirations was Zelda the Minish Cap. I just love the look of this game so much, and analyzing it had given me a lot of insight into how I wanted our tile set to work. I also heavily referenced these trees, and if you've seen these big fluffy trees in Minish Cap, you're gonna notice them in so many other games. This is not meant to be a drag. I just think these trees are like so pretty, and I think a lot of other artists reference them as well because they just have the perfect like cube shape. So at the end of the night, I finally had this mug. There wasn't a lot of detail, but I really liked how it looked when zoomed out. And after sleeping on it, the next morning I took the concept and made a bunch of color variations. And my goal was to get a minimum of 5 settings out of just one tile set. By the time I was done, we had 6 settings that all had their own charm and used the same tileset logic. Motivated by this, I also made tileset dummies for the gameplay mechanics and gave each monster some animations. They were only like 1 or 2 frames, but at least now the monsters had some movement. And just that little bit of movement added so much charm to the game. At the end, all of the 6 monsters now had at least one different pose for idle, receiving food, munching, and happy state. The last step to finishing the tileset was to add detail and to clean up the individual graphics. Just having some different floor tiles, adding some water, and 1 tree should be enough to demo the final look and meet our goal.
Hi, hello. New build just got updated. Thought we could check it out together. Just give me a second. I completed a lot of sprites for all of the game mechanics. They're not final, but they have the right size. But yeah, in theory, a lot of the gameplay mechanics should be in this build, and I'm pretty excited for it, especially yeah, because we have like the river and the teleporters and okay, wait, let me bring you over. Just put it on here. Ta-da! Okay, I'll just screen record so you can actually see what's going on. Here we go. Okay, so so I can place the spawners. Oh, that's cool. And they get one of the randomized frames. Okay, that's cool. And I have the river. Oh. Okay, that still needs to actually follow the tile sets. Like we have curves and stuff. Or wait, am I just using it wrong? I think I'm using it wrong. Okay, let's see, what else do we have here? We have monsters. Okay. Okay, that's cool. Then we have these ones. I like it. Then we have these. Oh, they also make a little puddle. Oh, cool. Oh, nice. Okay. Oh, this is cool. So I can now, wait, but how do I? Oh. Yeah, I'm wondering if we also need rectangular levels, but then we could also just like paint these out or something. I don't know yet. Oh, that's cool. And what are you? Oh, you're just a blocker. Well, what's the difference between this one and this one? Oh, that's like the boss monsters. Oh, that's cool. So like, he wrote that the river changes direction if you... Does not. Oh, wait, what is happening? Oh god. I'm super happy. I know this looks very chaotic, but I think for everybody who is working in game development, it's a level editor. It's meant to look that way. It's okay. Like, you know. Wait. I just figured out how the river works. Let me demonstrate. I was an idiot. Okay, so I place it here, I place it here, I place one here. But why doesn't it work? I need to rotate my mouse and then I can make flowy rivers. How freaking cool is that? I can make it flow over here. I can make it flow down. I can even make a little circle. This is so cool. And I just have to kind of look at the direction that it's flowing in, like this is wrong, no. Now it's correct. The direction it's flowing, that'll be much clearer once it's animated, hopefully. And then I just need to scroll my mouse wheel and it'll change directions. And it's so intuitive once you figure it out, which, yeah, I didn't when I tested it, and then I actually read the instructions. Yeah, just wanted to add that because I didn't show that off earlier, and it's so cool.
We had survived January and February. We had working gameplay, we had an art style that we were confident in and that was working with our other games, and we had also managed to break the concept art down into individual tiles and create some rudimentary level art in software called Tiled, which also gave us confidence in that the level art was going to work. Ultimately, the game found its identity and we finally had a vision for what the final product was gonna look like. But yeah, there is a lot more stuff to come. Thanks so much for watching and see you in part 3. Bye!